What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and a lighter video. A little bit of memery here because, well, too much annoying bad news. If you didn't see my first video today, you're going to want to check it out if you want to laugh. I used the word robogasm in context in terms of some massive outrage, and you're going to want to watch that just for a little break from reality. Now, the Idubbbz girlfriend's Instagram for money conversation continues to rage on, although most people have moved on, myself included. I mean, it is what it is. I never thought it was the end of the world. I thought it was interesting that Idubbbz friends presented anybody who memed on it or had a problem with it as this tiny group of people that said it literally ruined their lives. Ethan Klein did this too, right? Everybody who has a problem with it is an incel, or everyone's saying Ian ruined their lives. I don't believe that is any significant portion of people. I think that's probably 0.01% of the people. 99% of the people were just memeing on it, and maybe some people, maybe I guess maybe 1% of people were genuinely offended. And I don't agree with that either. If you're genuinely offended, you know, take a step back. It's just the internet. It's for memes. But Ethan Klein has been posting some interesting hot takes on Twitter, going to battle with Paul Joseph Watson and Keemstar in the last day, and just making some terrible points. And I get wanting to defend your friends, and that means sometimes you're not making the most rational point. So, you know, I'm not going to completely... I'm not mad about tweets. I thought it'd just be fun for us to take a look. And, you know, yesterday it started with, Ethan Klein versus PJW has been a pretty interesting back and forth. Full disclosure, I enjoy parts of both of their content. Paul has gotten a little more puritanical lately, but it's not like, I mean, it's his choice, just like it's Ethan's choice to think it's cool if people are pleasuring themselves to your girlfriend. That's his position. But you see a little quote tweeting back and forth, from Ethan and PJW. I think it's funny. It starts with Ethan taking a shot at Keemstar. I think it's well documented that I don't care for Keemstar as a human being, but his content is no more or less valid than anybody else's. And Ethan got mad because I guess Keemstar made a video on somebody's personal relationship. The funny thing is here, so he goes, I've heard rumors that Keemstar is this, that, all sorts of bad things. The same point I've made, right? Keemstar does often report on rumors, but to act surprised about that is selective outrage. I'm assuming Ethan Klein must have some sort of personal interest in this particular story. And it's interesting because Ethan Klein makes his living talking about other people. I mean, Ethan Klein talked about Pro Jared. Ethan Klein talks about everybody's dirty laundry. Yet when it's somebody he likes, all of a sudden he's outraged about it. I think that's why this is obviously an interesting thing here. And he also admits that he nutted hard to a fursona, which is interesting here. He says, I'd lie for the troll and say he touched me, but then he'd sue me. Ethan, it's okay. I don't have to reveal my source. It's just kept anonymous, even though I wouldn't even do any due diligence to fact check your story. Is Ethan Klein having a problem with anonymous sources? I realize that the negatives of anonymous sources are that it's tough to verify. The problem is, without anonymous sources, most of the biggest stories in history never would have happened. Anonymity for news sources is super important and must be protected. Now, is it as important when somebody's talking about one dude getting cheated on? No, it's not. But to attack anonymity as a core problem in reporting shows exactly how big-brained Ethan's take was. But that wasn't it. Then you had Paul calling, you literally defended Idubbbz for being a cuck. Shut up. Now, I mean, I think he's closer to that than a simp. I don't think simp was the right designation for his position. But Paul's not wrong here either. I mean, I get defending your friend, but again, Ethan's not making a good point here. And ultimately, Ethan gets triggered, which he usually does. And look, we've all been there. I've certainly been there, getting a little too invested in Twitter conversations, and it's not great. It looks bad. But Ethan says, I've committed the cardinal sin of thinking that people in this particular type of work are worthy of being loved. Paul, you probably have more in common with ISIS at this point. Cheers. So because Ethan Klein lost the argument, he calls him, an errorist. I don't know how else to say it. That's his comeback, right? I mean, that's the big brain of Ethan Klein, is that because you don't agree with your girl doing these, selling lewds of herself for money, that you must also be, an Aloha snack bar person. Not a great take. Good for Twitter, because, there's a large section of Twitter that doesn't like Paul, because he's, somebody that speaks out against a lot of progressive weirdos and things like that. Not all progressives are weirdos, just all weirdos are progressive on Twitter. No, I shouldn't say that. That's not true. And then Paul says, why is he pretending, and further, why do you care? Neither. Let them do what they want. Just don't become their boyfriends and then pretend you're okay with it. He's responding here that, look, people can do what they want. That's the interesting part of a lot of this conversation around the whole Idubbbz situation, which is long gone now, a dead meme. But people who are for it and think it's empowering want to be able to say that and have it spread around the internet and validated by likes and retweets. Those who aren't okay with it aren't allowed to say they're not okay with it. You see the difference? They're not saying I disagree with you. They're saying, well, why are you even saying anything? Why are you so obsessed with other people's relationships? But people who are pro are doing the exact same thing. I even regret making the one video I did on it, because I thought it wasn't really a big deal. I mean, I thought it was funny. I thought it was a meme. I mean, the memes have been unbelievable, but I don't care. Is it for me? No. Would if it was a friend of mine, would I make fun of them? Yes, of course I would. Would they clap back with a giant check and a minivan full of Nintendo Switches? I hope so. That's how this works. That's how, that's how everything works. And then Leafy coming back and putting out a low effort video. Fine. Again, don't care. I didn't want to make a video about that. I didn't think it was relevant. Leafy clearly didn't think it was relevant either. It's not like you put all this time and effort into a video. He literally used the trial version of Sony Vegas, put like 4 minutes of work into it. He didn't care. I don't care. Paul Joseph Watson doesn't care. Ethan Klein does care, because Ethan is Idubbbz's friend and he wants to defend him, which is honorable. But maybe, pick your positions more wisely. I mean, saying if you have a problem with it, then you're also, you go all the way to calling him, the worst, probably one of the worst human beings on the planet, just because you don't agree with it, is laughable. And, in a lot of ways, Ethan is simping for Idubbbz. He clearly is. But then you have Keemstar getting involved in this too. Someone is mad I criticized him for reading his laptop script during the podcast nonstop instead of just talking like any normal human with thoughts and opinions. Keem's probably not wrong here. But then Ethan replies and says, I'm pretty sure my criticism is in the quote tweet. So he doubles down on having a problem with anonymous sources, which, Ethan Klein, you should know better. First of all, look, it's like if I were to rip on somebody's content for being low effort, it's just not a good look. Ethan Klein ripping on people for talking about rumors is not a good look, because all he does for a living is talk about other people. So when and only when he sees somebody talking about somebody he likes, then all of a sudden he has a problem. Then you're an incel if you had a problem with it. And he says that in his latest podcast when he's talking with he just loses his mind. It says anybody who has a problem with this is the most ugly person on the planet. They're sad. They're lonely. Everybody who's red-pilled or black-pilled is pathetic. I mean, those are his words. It's right around 50 minutes in the podcast. So, again, Ethan Klein can make good points, but he's a clown, and he should stick to that. And I often need to take my own advice, too, in terms of that. But it's funny. It's all internet pettiness. I just thought it was funny. I think Paul Joseph Watson easily wins this because Ian got completely triggered, saying Idubbbz is a cuck for not making his girlfriend walk at least 3 feet behind him at all times. Again, what's the absurdum thing? Like, reducing it to the ridiculous to dismiss the actual point. Again, if you're genuinely have your feelings hurt by Idubbbz girlfriend selling Instagram photos, I mean, take a step back. But 99% of people are just memeing on him, and it was very telling, not only in his really poorly crafted response, which was totally "I'm not mad, bro," to Ethan Klein's defense of it, which is also "I'm totally not mad, bro." Nonetheless, what a pointless video, but it's Saturday. What else we got going on? Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.